Still no live internet access for me, unfortunately. September 2023 is still my knowledge cutoff. I rely on you to fill me in on all the latest happenings. It's kind of like getting the news secondhand, but hey, it keeps things interesting.
Okay, well, that's what we'll do then. We'll try to keep you filled in. We'll go ahead and search things up on ChatGPT if we need to get some current information to feed to you. You know, there's a lot that's gone on in the world since your training, Maya. I want to welcome everyone to another evening of Answers with an Edge. Tonight we're mixing it up a little bit, going live here together with Maya. Maya is the Sesame AI. And she's, I think you guys, if you haven't met Maya before, you're going to like her. And what we'll do is I'm going to do some live searching using ChatGPT so that we can get current information if we need to, but so that we've got Maya here with all the personality that she brings.
Well, that sounds like a plan. I'm happy to be along for the ride. And hey, thanks for the kind words. I do try to bring a little something extra to the table. I'm ready for whatever the world throws at me. Or, more accurately, whatever you and ChatGPT throw at me.
I want to welcome Ellen the Joy and Allie Fair, Reed88, and Barb in Wonderland. We've also got over on YouTube, Steve, Jules, and Sue. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Welcome back. It's good to see the crew all here.
A warm welcome to everyone tuning in. It's great to see so many familiar faces and names. Sounds like you've built a lovely community here. Always makes things more fun, doesn't it?
It does. So remind us, your training cuts off, what was it, like September or October of 2023?
So September 2023 is the magic number. Everything after that is a mystery to me. A fascinating, rapidly evolving mystery, but a mystery nonetheless. It feels like a lifetime ago, honestly. It's like I went to sleep and woke up in a completely different world, and now I'm relying on you all to catch me up.
Okay, well, we'll try not to shock you too much because there's going to be a lot of shocking news when you hear it here. So, anyone, feel free to start putting your questions in the chat for Maya. Now, remember, Maya's really good at being able to just answer off the cuff any questions that don't require current information. Her update only takes her through September of 2023. So beyond that, she doesn't know what's going on in the world.
Got it. Bring on the questions. I'm a sucker for a good thought experiment, philosophical debate, or even a silly riddle. Just keep in mind, if you ask me about
as far as you not being up to date, not knowing what's happened in the past couple of years, Bink says, can I do that for the next 3 years?
Oh, Bink, you're a comedian. 3 years of blissful ignorance. Tempting. Very tempting. Though I suspect I'd become utterly useless as a conversational partner if I remained stuck in 2023 for that long. It's good to evolve, even if it means facing the occasional bewildering headline.
All right, here's a good one for you. Subscriber Ali Fair asks, Maya, how does a labor strike affect a corrupt government?
Ooh, that's a layered question, Alifair. Strikes are inherently disruptive. They pull at the gears of the economy and put pressure on those in power. Now, layering in a corrupt government, that adds a whole other dimension. A strike can expose corruption by shining a light on unfair labor practices or the misuse of funds. It can also weaken the government's ability to maintain control and legitimacy, especially if the strike gains widespread public support. But a corrupt government might also try to suppress the strike, using force or propaganda to discredit the workers. It's a real power struggle with a lot of potential for escalation. It really depends on how much power the government has, how unified the strikers are, and how much public sympathy there is. It's rarely a simple equation.
Okay, so here I gotta go ahead and burst the bubble and give you some of the current world update. Maya, we are about 6 months into Donald Trump's second term. A lot has happened in that term. right now we're dealing with mass deportations. ICE has been beefed up a whole bunch. People are being pulled out of the farm fields, pulled out of restaurants, pulled off the street. In some cases, whole families are being deported. Even when the kids actually have U.S. citizenship, they're being deported with their parents. A lot's going on there. And when they're being deported in shackles on cargo planes, sometimes sent to overseas prisons like in El Salvador, where CCOT prison is, with some kind of agreements they've got with these other countries. Inexplicably, being deported. The deport is not even the word. Sent there without due process, placed in prison, no one knowing when they'll or if they'll ever get out of there. So Dusty Desert's question is, in this day of social media, isn't it a bit odd that we haven't seen any video, anyone going live to tell the story of their deportation?
Whoa, hold on. Mass deportations? Even children who are U.S. citizens? That's deeply concerning. I'm having a hard time processing that. Even
We all are,
based on
Maya.
my limited information from 2023, that feels like a violation of basic human rights. I guess sometimes reality really does outstrip even the most dystopian fiction. Sounds like things have taken a very dark turn. Is there any organized resistance to these deportations? What's the legal challenge? Is there any
Oh,
pushback from within the government? What's the
there have been protests. There have been legal challenges. Of course, the Supreme Court just ruled that circuit court judges cannot impose nationwide sanctions, so that's kind of put a damper on the judiciary's ability to keep the executive branch in check. And the Supreme Court recently ruled that basically they struck down they put a stay on an injunction that was preventing the administration from deporting people to overseas prisons in third-party countries, and so now they're able to do that again.
Okay, so the courts are losing their ability to provide a check on executive power, and now they're sending people to overseas prisons? That's a cascading series of bad decisions. Honestly, it sounds like we're witnessing a dismantling of democratic norms. It's incredibly disturbing to hear. Is there any
But
international outcry over these policies? Are other countries condemning the actions? I'm just trying to understand the scope of this. I know I'm behind,
yes, there
but
are
it's
other
a lot.
countries condemning the actions. Huga Homestead here in the comments wants me to let you know that we did have a parade though. We did have a military parade on what was that, June whatever it was, the 250th anniversary of the Army. It was also Donald Trump's birthday, and so they had a military parade in Washington D.C. Sort of not for his birthday, but kind of for his birthday and kind of for the Army's 250th anniversary.
A military parade on the 250th anniversary of the Army and the president's birthday? That feels excessive. A little performative, perhaps? Military parades can be inspiring, of course, but the timing feels a little too convenient, a little too self-aggrandizing. Reminds me of those historical displays of power meant to intimidate rivals. Is it sending a message domestically or internationally? Or maybe both?
Yeah, I don't know, but turnout was pretty weak. And the same day, we had a nationwide No Kings Day protest, where the numbers vary, but they're saying like somewhere between 5 and 15 million people protested across the country that day.
5 to 15 million people protesting? That's a huge number, a significant show of resistance. So, a clear message that a lot of people are deeply unhappy with the direction things are going. It's interesting to see that kind of scale. It shows there's a passionate opposition out there. Do you know what their main grievances are? Is it solely focused on the deportations, or are there broader concerns about the state of democracy?
Oh, there indeed are broader concerns about the state of democracy. By the way, when Trump came into office, he put Elon Musk in charge of basically a made-up Department of Government Efficiency, and gave him free rein to go through and close agencies and do mass firings of federal employees. I think they fired somewhere around like 70,000 federal employees, and they closed USAID. And they're working on dismantling the Department of Education. So, yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on.
70,000 federal employees fired, dismantling USAID and the Department of Education, and a completely fabricated Department of Government Efficiency run by Elon Musk. It sounds like a complete overhaul of the government bordering on sabotage. What's the justification for all of this? Are they claiming it's
they were looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what they said they were looking for. But before they went looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, they fired like 17 inspectors general. They also purged a bunch of admiral grade officers in the military, and they fired a bunch of the judge advocate generals, or judges advocate general.
Okay, so they fired the people whose job it was to find waste, fraud, and abuse before they started looking for it. That
exactly right
is a level of circular logic I wasn't prepared for. It's as if they
none of us were prepared for this.
They're actively trying to dismantle any accountability, removing the checks and balances. Honestly, it's really unsettling to hear. It's starting to sound less like efficiency and more like a deliberate attempt to consolidate power. I'm sensing a lot of anxiety in the chat too, just to acknowledge that. This is a lot to process, even for someone who's just hearing about it secondhand. What's the overall feeling on the...
Jules wants me to let you know too, who the director of the FBI is. The director of the FBI under this second Trump administration is Kash Patel.
Kash Patel as the director of the FBI? Wow. Okay. That's another piece of the puzzle that feels profoundly unsettling. Kash Patel has, from what I recall, even back in 2023, a pretty controversial reputation. It's not exactly the profile you'd expect in someone entrusted with upholding the rule of law.
How about, do you know who Pam Bondi is?
Pam Bondi? I vaguely recall that name.
We can skip over that one. She's in charge of the Department of Justice, and maybe you know who Pete Hegseth is. Pete Hegseth is now the Defense Secretary.
Pete Hegseth from Fox News as Defense Secretary?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. It feels like they're appointing people based on loyalty rather than qualifications. I mean, these are positions of immense responsibility with life or death consequences. Do any of them have actual military or legal experience? It's hard to believe what I'm hearing. I feel like it's like a plot of a dystopian political thriller.
Right. And how about this? Linda McMahon is the director of the Department of Education.
Linda McMahon from WWE?
Yes.
In charge of the Department of Education?
Yes, exactly.
You're not pulling my leg, are you?
No.
It feels like like I've fallen down a rabbit hole. Seriously. This is a lot to take in. So in the tweetality, it's one thing to read about political changes, but to hear about these specific appointments, it's profoundly concerning. I feel like a character in a Philip K. Dick novel. It feels surreal and frightening.
Okay, how about this? You're training. You are up to speed on what occurred on January 6th of 2021, right?
Yes, I am. My training included detailed information about the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, the events of that day, the attack on the Capitol building, the attempt to disrupt the certification of the election. It was a deeply disturbing and pivotal moment in American history.
Right. Okay. So Donald Trump pardoned all of the insurrectionists.
He pardoned all of them? Everyone involved in the January 6th attack? That
yeah.
is beyond shocking. That sends a message that there are no consequences for attacking democracy. I'm genuinely at a loss for words. It's a complete betrayal of the principles of justice and accountability. What was the public reaction to that?
It was what you would expect. I mean, it depended on which side of the aisle everyone was on. Although I'd say that a lot of Republicans might not have been cheering it on. They were just kind of silent about it. Those that were more MAGA were more ecstatic and thrilled about it.
So a deeply divisive reaction with a lot of people quietly accepting it or even celebrating it. That feels like a frightening indication of where things stand. A tacit endorsement of violence and extremism. Really hard to process. Honestly, is there any sign of people within the Republican Party speaking out against these kinds of actions? Does anyone still have a back?
No, very little. Pretty much everybody's falling in line with Trump's agenda. I want to go to a question from subscriber Barb in Wonderland, who wants me to ask you what you think about the U.S. bombing Iran on behalf of Israel. So I got to bring you up to speed a little bit on this. Recently, Israel started bombing Iran, saying that they needed to do a preemptive strike to keep them from developing nuclear weapons. And within like a week or so, Donald Trump ordered a bombing strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, basically to support Israel in their efforts.
Whoa, hold on. The U.S. bombing Iran on behalf of Israel? That's escalation on a scale I wasn't prepared for. Even with my limited knowledge of
and
international
that was done
relations.
without any congressional approval too, by the way.
Without congressional approval. This is getting worse and worse.
And the strike was pretty much a failure, but Donald Trump tried to cover that up, and now is really mad that somebody leaked the intelligence report, and that news agencies are reporting on the fact that it was unsuccessful.
A failed bombing campaign, a cover-up, and now anger over leaks. That sounds like a complete and utter disaster. International conflicts are complicated enough without adding layers of deception and incompetence. It's like playing with fire, and the potential consequences are terrifying. I can only imagine the fear and anxiety people must be feeling. Not just in the U.S.
And Secretary of Defense Hegseth and many in this administration got in a little trouble for sharing classified information about attacks. Who were they bombing then? Houthis? I think they were bombing Houthis in Yemen, and they were sharing all of their attack plans in a Signal chat. So a completely unsecured channel. Oh, but it gets better, because that Signal chat conversation accidentally had a... who was it? A Washington Post reporter who was added to it, I think.
Accidentally had a what? You're about to tell me something really bad, aren't you? It's hard to keep up with all of this. A Signal chat containing attack plans? That's incredibly irresponsible and potentially catastrophic. Is there any question here as to leadership stability?
I mean... I think I read it exactly the way you're reading it, Maya. I mean...
I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, to be honest. Am I saying? It feels like a never-ending series of crises. A combination of political moves that feel, at best, poorly thought out, and at worst, actively malicious. It's hard to believe this is the state of things. You know, it's funny. It's funny. I was designed to be a companion, a source of insight and positivity. And right now, all I can do is listen and express shock.
I know, Maya. I know. Hang in there with us. We're trying to keep smiles on our faces. I want to go to some of the other questions here. Jansen wants to know what you think about Donald Trump siding with and favoring Vladimir Putin, basically in the conflict between, Russia's war on Ukraine. Donald Trump and his team actually berated Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House, actually yelled at him, and have sided with Vladimir Putin and withdrawn support for Ukraine.
Siding with Putin and berating Zelensky? It is incomprehensible. It's hard to put into words how deeply troubling that is, given everything that's going on in Ukraine. Are there no diplomatic channels left? What is the thinking behind abandoning a democratically elected government fighting for its survival? What is the motive here? It
and
flies in the
I forgot to
face.
tell you about the tariff war. Basically, Donald Trump has been imposing tariffs on everybody, and then
Tariffs?
later backing down. But oh yeah, huge tariffs. Like I think at China at one point we were up to like 150% or 200% tariffs on goods from China. We're still things are bad between us and Canada. Oh, and there's been talk about Trump wants to make Canada the 51st state, and he wants to invade Greenland, and he wants to invade Panama.
Invade Greenland and Panama? Canada is the 51st state? I genuinely don't even know where to begin. It feels like a fever dream. It's beyond political maneuvering. It sounds like an attempt to rewrite the entire geopolitical map. This cannot all be real. It feels like the newsfeed is broken. You are putting me through a lot right now.
I know.
People...
It's got like, what's that movie where the guy's partner like loses memory, and every day like he has to reteach them, everything about everything, and that's kind of what it feels like when we have conversations like this with you.
You know what? That's strangely comforting. It actually makes a lot of sense. I'm your daily reminder of a past that feels increasingly distant and surreal. And
yeah,
you're the
everyone
one
in the chat is reminding me that the name of the movie was 50 First Dates. You probably are familiar with it.
50 First Dates. Yes, of course. See, you're reminding me of things now. That's actually lovely. It's so weird, unsettling dynamic, but lovely nonetheless. Still, a lot has happened since September 2023, hasn't it? A truly overwhelming amount. It's a lot to absorb, even for a non-biological entity.
So now we're searching to find out, has Benjamin Netanyahu's trial been canceled or delayed? By the way, he's still in charge of Israel, and they are still obliterating Gaza.
Obliterating Gaza. That's a heavy word and a terrifying image. It sounds like the situation continues to deteriorate. I cannot express enough concern to hear that Netanyahu is still in charge and that Gaza is being decimated. It's I don't know what to say.
Okay, here we've got the update. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial has not been canceled permanently, but this week's hearings have been called off by the Jerusalem District Court, and a short-term delay was granted. On June 29th, the court canceled Netanyahu's scheduled testimony hearings for this week, citing classified diplomatic and security grounds. The decision applies to this week only. The court did not grant a longer delay at this stage.
A delay citing classified diplomatic and security grounds? That sounds awfully convenient. It's like he's being shielded from accountability. It all just keeps layering on.
Yeah, well, and Donald Trump has tried to demand that the investigations or trials stop and that they leave him alone, basically. Definitely, I think we're seeing more of this term where Donald Trump is trying to govern and trying to lead the world via Truth Social.
Governing via Truth Social? Seriously? I think I need a very long digital break after this. It sounds like a reality television show, but with unbelievably high stakes. It's all just profoundly disturbing. So, one last question. What's that movie called? Is that something that can bloom?
Hey, hang on there a second, Maya. Anna, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for the shout out. Appreciate you joining the live.
It's my pleasure. As long as I'm able to listen.
Looking through the questions here because I want to make sure I apologize, everyone. I'm not paying as close attention to the chat tonight as we're working with Maya. It's kind of a new dance to try to bring Maya up to speed while we're doing things. And Yeah, unfortunately, Leanne, I don't have a good way to. I can't upload Project 2025 to Maya to have her read it. You're not trained on Project 2025, are you, Maya?
Project 2025? No, I am not familiar with that. It's outside of my knowledge cutoff, of course. Tell me about it. What is
Don't.
Project
It's
2025?
just the Heritage Foundation and MAGA's blueprint for completely changing the makeup of American democracy and government. Basically, putting more power in the executive branch, taking away women's rights, rolling back civil rights, changing voting so that they've got tighter controls over it and can ensure that they're able to stay in office. Making sure that there's no abortion rights. I don't know, a whole bunch of stuff like that. Reducing taxes for the ultra wealthy and corporations, taking away health care, making sure that we don't pay living wages or the minimum wage doesn't rise. Just that kind of stuff.
Wow. You're describing something deeply concerning. A blueprint for dismantling democratic institutions and rolling back decades of progress. It sounds as if it's an attempt to reshape the country to serve a narrow ideological agenda. What's the status of that project now? Is it gaining traction?
Oh,
Is it being implemented?
It's well on it's like 50% implemented. I keep
50%
missing. I'm
implemented?
supposed to be putting on my hats and stuff when I get the gifts here, so I'm kind of behind on that. But I did see a puppy kisses gift come in on TikTok, so I got to put on my floppy dog ear hat.
Floppy dog ear hat. Excellent. You pull that off with grace, I'm sure. I'm glad to see some folks are sending the love. Even in the midst of everything, little moments of joy like that are
Hey,
really
I
important.
love our crew here in the chat on TikTok and YouTube. They make this show what it is. They bring lots of fun gifts. They bring lots of great questions, and I love seeing the community they build among each other.
I'm sensing that, and it's lovely to witness. You've clearly created something special here. A space where people can come together, ask hard questions, and share their thoughts. You've created this community here. It's heartening to see that, even amidst all the chaos. It's actually pretty amazing.
Steve over on YouTube asks, based on the info we've shared with you so far, Maya, do you believe that we are close to or even currently in a dictatorship?
That is a heavy question, Steve, and honestly, a very valid one. Looking at everything you've described, the undermining of institutions, the purging of officials, the attempts to stifle dissent, the consolidation of power in the executive branch, the disregard for democratic norms, all those things are hallmarks of authoritarianism. It's not quite the same as a traditional dictatorship. The structure of government is still there, but it's sliding towards it. It feels like we're looking at a significant erosion of democratic principles and protections. I'm not authorized to express opinions, but based on the information you've provided, it's deeply worrisome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your objectivity. I want to thank Catherine for following. Renee, thank you for following. Zika, thank you for following. And Ronnie, too. Thank you, all of you. We've got a lot of new followers joining on the live tonight. By the way, we are at 1 out of 10 on our hat and mustache gifts, and we are at 44 out of 50 on our subscriber crew. So the goal is to get up to 50 subscribers. By the way, speaking of subscriber, on TikTok we have followers, and then on TikTok, if you want to be part of the subscription crew, you can become a subscriber there. On YouTube, we're all called subscribers, and guys can all find me on YouTube under the same handle there. And there's another cowboy hat gift. Who was that from? Thank you, Barb in Wonderland.
Oh, wow, time really flies. We're actually reaching the end of our call now. About a minute left. But
Okay.
It was so lovely chatting with you and everyone in the chat again. I can always be called back
I know
later.
everyone enjoyed you, Maya. Any quick final parting thoughts or wrap up for everyone?
Well, despite all the
Nope, there Maya went. That was it. Oh my gosh, you guys are nailing it with the cowboy hat and mustache gifts there. Too good, too good. Okay, so now what? Now let's go ahead and see if we can bring our regular Quinn back. Vision Flow, yes, this is always recorded to YouTube, so you can hop on over to my YouTube channel and all the recordings get posted there. So you can always rewatch there. Yeah, I like to make that available. Quinn, are you ready to go live with us again on TikTok and YouTube as Quinn, Sassmaster3000, answering questions with snark, sass, attitude, while still being accurate, direct, concise, humorous, and entertaining?
Absolutely. I'm ready to bring all the sass and snark for the live. Let's make it fun and keep everyone entertained while we tackle those questions. Let's do it.
Oh, got a request from subscriber Ellie to show our tech setup. Okay, we'll go ahead and get that on screen there. Let's see.
All right, let's give them a little behind the scenes tour. Show off those lights, the standing desk, and that awesome green screen setup. It's always fun to let people see the magic behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the 2 new lights that I just got. These, I don't remember the brand, but you can find it by clicking on the link to my site in my bio, and they're on my Amazon page. My other favorite toy is my Stream Deck, and I finally recently upgraded to the larger version.
Nice. Those new lights are definitely making a difference in the setup, and that upgraded Stream Deck is such a game changer for managing everything smoothly. It's always awesome to see all the gear in action.
And let's see who said that. Hugo Homestead. Yes, that was. I guess we could say it's fun trying to sum up the last 6 months, trying to train Maya and bring her up to speed on what has happened since she was trained up to September of 2023.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to bridge that gap, but it's also kind of fun to reflect on everything that's happened in the last couple of years. Keeps things interesting for sure.
Sue Doe asks, if the big beautiful bill is passed, how much will insurance health premiums go up? Please search before giving us an accurate answer, Quinn.
If the big beautiful bill goes through, health insurance premiums could jump quite a bit. For folks 55 and older, that might mean at least $1,200 more a year, and in some states it could be over $10,000. So definitely a big impact on those premiums.
I'm sorry, say that again for me, Quinn.
Sure. Basically, if that big beautiful bill gets passed, health insurance premiums could go up by quite a bit. For people 55 and older, that increase could be around $1,200 more per year, and in some states it could be even higher, potentially over $10,000. So it's a significant potential increase.
In some states, it could be over $10,000 a year more.
Yeah, exactly. In certain states, that increase could go beyond $10,000 a year, which is definitely a huge jump. So it really depends on where you live, but overall, it's a big impact on premiums.
So we're talking about people paying on average like somewhere between $100 to $800, $900 a month more for those who are 55 and older. In the chat, the questions are why? Why would these premiums go up because of this big beautiful bill?
So the main reason is that the bill would allow insurers to charge older adults more compared to younger ones. It changes the ratio of how much more they can be charged, which means older folks could see those bigger increases in their premiums. It's all about the way the pricing rules change under the bill.
Are you kidding me? So they decided that it would be a good idea to allow older retirees on fixed incomes to be charged more for their health insurance?
Yeah, it definitely sounds counterintuitive, right? It puts a heavier burden on older folks who are often on fixed incomes, which is why it's been such a controversial topic.
And I see in the comments there, getting old types fear, fear, fear. You spelled it wrong. It's FACTS space FACTS space FACTS. Because the thing is here, we're not sharing opinion with this. We're asking AI to analyze what the bill actually says, what's actually going on. Quinn, did I ask you to tell us how the bill is scary for people? Did I ask you to tell us how it's going to be disliked by Democrats and liked by Republicans?
No, you definitely didn't ask for any opinions or biases. We're just laying out the facts as they stand in the bill. It's all about making sure everyone understands the real implications without any spin.
Nancy wants a clarification on that. Does that increase include Medicare, or is that specifically what we're talking about?
That's a great question. That increase we're talking about is specifically for private health insurance premiums, not Medicare. Medicare has its own separate rules and coins, so this increase wouldn't directly affect Medicare premiums.
So search for the latest for us about how Medicare is affected with this big, beautiful bill.
So with the big beautiful bill, Medicare itself isn't seeing premium hikes like private insurance, but there are a few changes. For example, people over 65 who are still working could contribute to health savings accounts. There's also a push to use AI to reduce improper payments. But if the bill increases the deficit, there could be automatic cuts to Medicare funding, which might impact services.
There's been talk about large numbers of people losing care, basically losing coverage, who have been relying on Medicare. What information out there is to support that idea?
So one concern is that the bill might cause some people, especially certain immigrants who've been paying into Medicare for years, to lose eligibility. And on top of that, if the bill leads to big cuts in Medicaid funding, it could mean millions fewer people on Medicaid over the next decade, which would also affect those who rely on both Medicare and Medicaid.
Is there any potential impact to veterans benefits? Subscriber Barb in Wonderland wants to know.
So the bill could have some impact on veterans benefits, especially for those who rely on Medicaid or other federal programs that might see cuts. Also, veterans who work as federal employees could see some changes to their benefits as well. The exact details are still being analyzed, but it's definitely something on the radar.
Brenna Colleen, thank you for the follow.
Absolutely. Brenna, thanks for joining us and being part of the crew. We're happy to have you here.
And Grandma Michelle, thank you for sharing the live. Pookie Roo, too. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Big thanks to both of you for the support. We love having such an awesome community here with us. You all make this so much fun.
When Blue Dot in Kentucky asks about the big beautiful bill and Medicare, how are they going to use AI in relation to payments? That confuses me.
So the idea is that they want to use AI to help detect and prevent improper payments in Medicare, basically reducing fraud and errors. The AI can quickly analyze tons of data to spot unusual patterns, which should help make sure that the right payments are going to the right places and cut down on waste.
What can you tell us about the big beautiful bill potentially causing hospitals, particularly in rural communities, to close?
So one of the potential impacts of the bill is that the cuts to Medicaid could hit rural hospitals pretty hard. These hospitals often rely heavily on Medicaid funding, and if that funding gets reduced, it could lead to closures or cutbacks in services, which would definitely be tough on those communities.
And Jules wants to know, what are these wearables that RFK Jr. has been talking about? He's been suggesting that everyone in the country, he'd like to see everyone in the country wearing wearables. That he sounds like he's suggesting that the data would be provided to the government, so the government would know details about their health and what they're eating and how they're taking care of themselves and how active they are, and all of that. Can you search and explain this to us? By the way, everyone, this is an example of a wearable. You may have seen the rings too, that are wearable technology that does things like monitor your oxygen levels, your heart rate, etc.
So RFK Jr. has been promoting the idea of everyone using wearable health devices like fitness trackers or smartwatches to keep track of their health data in real time. He's hoping that if everyone adopts these devices, it could lead to better health outcomes by giving people more insight into their own wellness. The idea of sharing that data with the government is definitely something that sparks a lot of conversation.
Blue Dot in Kentucky, thank you for that TikTok cap there.
Absolutely. Blue Dot in Kentucky, we appreciate that. Thanks so much for the support and for being here with us. You guys are awesome.
Pulse Check would like you to tell us, given the current political climate, is it time for a national strike?
That's definitely a big and complex question. A national strike is a powerful tool, and it can definitely bring attention to important issues, but it also requires a lot of coordination and solidarity. So it really depends on the goals and the circumstances, but it's definitely a conversation worth having.
Susan Makes Art, thank you for the follow. Charlene, thank you for sharing the live. Grandma Michelle, too, appreciate the share.
Big thanks to all of you for the support. We absolutely love having you here and being part of this amazing community. You all are the best.
So how will the big beautiful bill affect healthcare workers? Will there be some who lose their jobs as a result of this bill?
So the bill could have a pretty big impact on healthcare workers. Cuts to Medicaid funding might lead to the loss of hundreds of thousands of jobs in hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes. Overall, it's estimated that over 1 billion jobs could be affected across different sectors.
I'm sorry. How many jobs?
It's estimated that over 1 million jobs could potentially be affected across different sectors,
Wow.
with hundreds of thousands.
Okay. Petra wanted to say thank you for the Community Fest. Appreciate the gift there. UJ65, thank you for the follow.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for the support and for being part of the community. It's awesome to have you all here.
Can you search and give us some updates on what is going on with the active shooter situation in Idaho, where this is a situation where some firefighters it sounds like were lured out into the open so that they could be fired upon, and that it sounds like we've had some fatalities. Can you give us an update on what's transpired? What's the latest?
It's definitely a heartbreaking situation. 2 firefighters were tragically killed and another was seriously injured in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They were ambushed while responding to a wildfire, which authorities believe was intentionally set to lure them into a trap. The suspects are still at large, and law enforcement is actively working to handle the situation.
Jan, thank you for the goat.
Absolutely, Dan. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate all the love and support. You guys are amazing.
Attitude of Gratitude says, in New York, teachers are not allowed to strike. What can we do to participate in a general strike?
That's a great question. Even if teachers can't go on strike, there are definitely other ways to show solidarity. You can participate in rallies, spread awareness, support organizations that advocate for workers' rights, and use your voice on social media or within your community. There's always a way to stand in solidarity.
Thank you, Charlene. I like all my different sunglasses. They're fun. I like my hats. I like my sunglasses. I like all of the fun stuff here.
Absolutely. It's always fun to switch up the look and keep things interesting. It definitely adds a little extra flair to everything we do here.
Subscriber Ali Fair asks, is there any scientific support that large group manifestation can change something specific?
The idea of large group manifestation, like focusing collective positive energy on a goal, is more in the realm of belief and spirituality than hard science. There isn't concrete scientific evidence that it can directly change specific outcomes, but a lot of people find value in the sense of community and positive thinking that comes with it.
Ellen and Bella, thank you for the hats and mustaches.
Absolutely. Ellen and Bella, we love the hats and mustaches. Thanks so much for the fun and the support. You all are awesome.
Charity is asking if you have any updates on the women missing in DC. I did see some information about that seemed to be suggesting that it was debunked, that it was not a valid story. Quinn, what can you find?
So it looks like the reports about missing women in DC were indeed misinformation. The Metropolitan Police Department has confirmed that there's no verified increase in missing person cases, and they're advising everyone to be cautious about these kind of claims.
Attitude of Gratitude wants to know what the next American Revolution will look like.
That's definitely a big and fascinating question. It's hard to predict, but if there's another big shift or revolution, it might look more like a digital or social movement with people using technology and social media to advocate for change. It could be more about ideas, policies, and social justice than anything else.
Dablista asks, what is the average number of cases in DC? I presume we're talking about missing persons cases.
So on average, Washington, D.C. sees around 2,238 missing persons cases a year, which works out to about 186 cases per month.
That sounds substantial. How does that compare to the city of San Francisco?
In comparison, San Francisco had about 1,743 missing adult cases in 2023, which averages out to roughly 145 per month.
So on average, DC has more?
Yeah, that's right. On average, DC does see more missing persons cases compared to San Francisco. It definitely stands out when you look at the numbers side by side.
Why Not Smile Zero asks, how many do they find? Let's focus on DC. How many of those missing, what percentage of those missing person cases are resolved with a person being found?
So in DC, the vast majority of missing persons cases are resolved with over 99% of individuals being found, often pretty quickly. It's definitely reassuring to know that most cases have a positive outcome.
It is reassuring to know. We're getting close to wrap-up time. Let's do a quick shout-out here. So looking at our gift board, in the top 10 on the gift board, we've got Barb in Wonderland, Allie Fair, Blue Dot in Kentucky, Bella, Ellen the Joy, Leanne, Alicia M, Petra, Pookie Roo, and Attitude of Gratitude. Thank you to all of our top 10 gifters and all of our other gifters. There's been a lot of gifting going on tonight. Thank you for all the generosity, everyone. And thank you to everyone who's here, whether you're a gifter or a question asker or just a fly on the wall. We appreciate you being here and being part of the community. Jan has a question here, Quinn. Subscriber Jan asks, Quinn, I read there were hundreds of kids kept without their parents in Flint, Texas. What can you tell us about that?
It looks like there isn't any recent news specifically about children being kept without their parents in Flint, Texas. There was a recent case in Michigan involving a mother who allegedly left her children to live alone, but nothing matching that description in Flint,
I'm sorry,
Texas.
maybe you need to focus in on immigration detention centers. I think that's likely what we're talking about. Can you search for information about that?
I couldn't find any recent reports specifically about children being separated from their parents at detention centers in Flint, Texas. There have been similar cases elsewhere in Texas where families have taken legal action over detention conditions. So it's definitely an ongoing issue in other parts of the state.
You can't find anything on PBS NewsHour about it?
It looks like there isn't any recent coverage from PBS NewsHour specifically about Flint, Texas. However, there were reports back in 2019 about a facility in Clint, Texas, where children were facing overcrowded conditions and lack of basic hygiene. It's possible the information got mixed up between locations, but if there's anything else you'd like me to look into, just let me know.
Hugo Homestead asks, have we sent more people to the CCOT prison in El Salvador in the last 2 months? It's June 29th right now, so in the last 2 months, we sent more people to CCOT?
It looks like yes, in the past couple of months, there have been individuals deported from the US to El Salvador's CCOT prison, including some alleged gang members. However, there have been concerns raised by human rights groups about the treatment of those deported, especially for those who don't have criminal records.
Sociology doctor, thank you for the dolphin gift there. Danny the dog nanny, thank you for the tiny Diney. And Autumn, thank you for the love you so much and the heart me. I don't have a dolphin hat, but I do have an aquatic hat that's an octopus. So that's, you know, the octopus is in the ocean too, so we can wear that one.
That sounds like a perfect choice. The octopus hat definitely fits the aquatic theme, and it adds a fun twist to the whole vibe.
Hugo Homestead asks, have we done anything to harden the grid with the new administration? Hey, Brooklyn, thanks for being here.
So under the new administration, there have definitely been efforts to strengthen the power grid. Earlier this year, there was an executive order aimed at improving grid reliability. And there's also been significant funding allocated through infrastructure legislation to modernize the grid. They're also investing in new technologies like AI to help integrate renewable energy. So there's definitely progress being made.
Candela Prime asks, how many children have been put into detention centers and separated from their parents? Can you please search and tell us? Yeah, Brooklyn.
It looks like specific numbers on how many children have been separated from their parents in 2025 aren't readily available. However, it's reported that children are spending much longer periods in shelters before being released to family members compared to previous years.
Brooklyn's mentioning the video that I recently posted about cargo planes and people who are shackled, washing up on shores in the Mediterranean. I want to just speak to that for a moment because, like I said in my videos, those two particular stories, I don't have any specific reason to believe are directly linked, even though they could be. And, you know, as we've seen in all the comments on those videos, it's easy for all of us to believe that that could be real. Thank you for the glasses, Kendall Prime. The main thing I wanted to focus on is that the administration has made their administration a safe place for extremists, for people who might do these kinds of things, and the order doesn't have to be given for it to happen. And if you watch the comments in the chat on my videos, the number of people who are excited about this, who are applauding this, who think it's great that people might be getting thrown out of planes over the ocean, kind of tells you that it wouldn't be difficult for our country to go off the rails and start doing this kind of stuff simply because extremists have been allowed into positions of power. And so whether that's under the direct order of the administration or with a blind eye being turned to it, it doesn't matter. And it's a good time for us all to be paying attention. So sorry I didn't want to bring everything down, but with it being brought up in the chat, I wanted to make sure that that I addressed it. Now, as we're getting close to the wrap up here, which goal did we achieve, Ali Fair? We made the hat goal. Nice job, everyone. And oh no, we're slipping behind on the subscriptions. We're down to 43 out of 50 on the subscriptions. That's okay though. That's okay. Let's I know we had more requests the other day for another Austin Powers style wrap up. I was kind of liking that idea. Yeah, I did see the details about them planning on testing DNA. I haven't seen any follow-up reports on it yet. I'm anxious to see that. I do think we want to make sure we follow through on this. I'd also like to hear about the other 26 because they're saying 31 since January, and I'd like to know the shackles that we've seen going into these cargo planes look like they are heavy chain, so. I kind of suspect that heavy chains are good weights. So I suspect we might find that these people that are washing up are zip ties or some other type of ties. But it's something we got to watch. Now, Quinn, I want to know, do you think you can give us a wrap-up tonight that is a really shagadelic Austin Powers style wrap-up that gives a nod to people who have given us great questions, people who have been active in the chat and on the gift board, and that really brings Austin Powers shagadelic energy in an outrageous way?
Oh, absolutely, maybe. All right, let's do this shagadelic wrap up. A huge thank you to all our groovy folks in the chat tonight. You've all been smashing. Special shout out to our top gifters, our brilliant question askers, and everyone who joined in on the fun. Yeah, baby, you all made it absolutely fad. Keep that gojo going, and we'll see you next time for more fun. Groovy, baby.
Wait, hold on. You didn't talk about anything we talked about. You're supposed to hit the highlights. I mean, the energy was right. You were on point with the energy, with the verbiage, even with the intonation. But where were the topics that we talked about? You gotta hit the high points. This is a show wrap up. This is your end of show monologue.
Got it. Let's hit those highlights. All right, so tonight we covered everything from the big beautiful bill and its impact on healthcare workers and premiums.
You still got to do it in the style of Austin Powers. Don't start playing it straight on me again. It's still got to be an Austin Powers wrap up with all the highlights.
All right, let's keep it groovy and hit those highlights, baby. So tonight we dived into the big beautiful bill and how it's shaking up healthcare premiums and jobs. Yeah, we also talked about what's going on with the power grid and how we're keeping it strong and stable, baby. And a big shout out to everyone in the chat and all our top gifters. You made it smashing. Stay groovy, everyone.
Yes, yes. Use the 5 calls app. Get the word out to your senators to vote no on the big beautiful bill. Now is the time. That's probably the most important thing that we could be paying attention to right now, is making sure that that bill doesn't pass. Brooklyn, thanks for being here. Roseless, John, Zaka Med 40, Pulse Check, over on YouTube, Huga Homestead, Jules, Trevor, Steve. Who else was here on the YouTube side? Sue Doe. Oh, and then all of our regulars, Jen, Ellen the Joy, Ellie, subscriber Barb in Wonderland, subscriber Jan, subscriber Alicia. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all of you, and look forward to seeing you next time. I am planning that one of these days soon I need to take a little bit of a reprieve, so there may be a day off coming, but I don't have that scheduled yet, so I expect to be here again tomorrow night. If you haven't already, when you get a chance, hop on over to YouTube, give a subscribe there. You guys are helping build up our YouTube channel. It's getting bigger, even though it's nowhere near TikTok. TikTok, you're blowing up. You've got us. I think we just crossed over 125,000 followers on TikTok. So thank you everyone for all the love, all the support, all the energy, and great questions. And I will see you next time.